Right now, change, disruption, a lot of bankers in here, a lot of disruption in banking. And you know, we can kind of get a little out of sorts. And whenever I get out of sorts or I get a little overwhelmed, I like to go back to a passage or a truth or a writing that has stood the test of time. That was before the internet age, something that's been around for a while. And there's one of those quotes that I love to go to, and it's by a man named James Allen. And he said this, he said, people are anxious to improve their circumstances, but are unwilling to improve themselves. They therefore remain bound. What is he saying? He's saying people like you, people like me, people that we work with, little Girl Scout people, right, that come in, people are anxious. There's a frustration on the inside. There's an unsettledness going on the inside. People are anxious about what? About their circumstances. Anybody like to change a circumstance in their life? You got one circumstance you'd love to see change, maybe a relationship. Come on, it's almost Christmas time. You're going to see some folks that you haven't seen for 365 days, right? And that's by design, maybe. Maybe we want to see a relationship change. Maybe we want to see an income change. Maybe we want to see a breakthrough in our business. Maybe we want circumstances. People are anxious to see the circumstances change. But he says, but they're unwilling to do what? To do the only thing that they have any control over, which is improve themselves. And so what's the result? They therefore remain bound. Year after year after year, going around the same mountain saying, why 10 years ago I was dealing with this issue? I had this same problem 10 years ago. Why am I dealing with this today? But not after today, right? Not after this 20-minute teaching that I give. You're going to be cured. Every problem you've ever had, you're going to... Okay, not really. I love making promises, but that one's too big, okay? We can't... what Jim Rohn said? Jim Rohn said, we can't change our destination overnight, but we can change our direction, right? And so that's why I want you to pick one thing and begin to change that direction so that by the end of 2020 and you begin to plan for 2021, you say, I got that settled. Now I can move on to something else. Now I can start working on a new area of my life. Okay, let's go. Let's jump in here and talk about influence. I had a great story from a friend. He's we're talking about the Navy here, but my friend was in the Air Force. He was a colonel in the Air Force. He's retired now, and we were just talking the other day. I'm going to interview him on my for my YouTube channel here soon. Influence Trainer. You can Google that. Influence Trainer on YouTube, and you'll find me there. I got content coming out every week. But I'll be interviewing him soon, and he was telling me a great story about influence. He was in leadership on a base. He was a colonel, and his daughter just so happened to be in the Air Force as well, and she was on that same base. And she was trying to go to a bar one night just to relax and maybe meet some people, and she went to this bar, and she gets in there. She's kind of talking to some folks and hanging out with some people that also worked on the base, and they get to talk and they say, now what's your name? She said, my name's Rebecca. And they said, okay, Rebecca, what? And she hesitated, right? And she said, Gleason. And they said, like Colonel Gleason? Are you related to Colonel Gleason? Yeah, that's my dad. And for the rest of the night, right, they were totally different to her. They were different around her. Everything was filtered through that relationship that she had, the influence that her father had over those men. That's influence. That's what I'm talking about. My friend wasn't even in the room, but his influence was there in the room. The Latin root word for influence means inflow. And just like a great river, like a Mississippi River, there are lots of tributaries that come alongside that, and they get inflow with the Mississippi River. Well, you want to be the Mississippi River. You want to be that thing where other people come inflow. It's not a manipulation. It's not coercing people. I'd never teach you to do that. It's about having something big, having a great idea, and getting the right people around it, and they get in flow with you, where they say, I want to go in the direction that you're going. That's what influence is. That's what you want. That's what you need. If you want to increase your sales, if you want your points, your opinion to matter, why have an opinion if it doesn't matter, right? And if you want people to get behind the big ideas and do something significant in your career, in your life. So the 7 essential qualities. Okay, here we go. Let's start out. The first one is the one I'm working on this year. It's my word of the year. Communication. 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 There's a Toastmasters. I mean, you got stuff available to you, right? YouTube it. Communication. Interpersonal communication. There's so much information out there. But what do I mean communication? Communication is the ability to say what you want to say and be understood. You ever said, that just didn't come out right? I don't think they really, I don't think they heard what I thought I said, right? And you have those things. That's a communication gap. That's a communication breakdown. Warren Buffett said you can increase your earning potential by at least 50% if you increase your ability to communicate. Now, he probably made that statistic up on the spot. But I think Warren Buffett's earned the right to make up numbers, right? I mean, I think he can do that. Communication. Only 7%, study done by UCLA, 7% of what we say is communicated in the words that we say. 55% is the tone of our voice. And 38% is our body language. That's powerful. That is powerful to know. Have you ever had this conversation, if you're married with your spouse, right? Or you maybe said this, it's not what you said, it's how you said it, right? Right? That just proves that study right there. We didn't need the study. We already knew that. But that proves the study right there. It's not what you said, it's how you said it. I don't know why they're upset. Have you looked at your face when you said that, right? That's usually the problem. And so communication. And one little tip, I want to give you a tip. Now, I have a video. Every single one of these topics that I'm sharing today, we don't have time. It could be an hour and a half talk. I'm going to get you out of here on time. There's at least 3 tips with every single one of these. You can find them on my YouTube channel. I'm just going to give you one tip, okay? Is that fair? Can we do that? Okay, so communication. Here's a great tip for you. People cannot hear you until they've been heard. If you're trying to communicate, you got something you want to say. I'm going to have a meeting with the boss. I'm going to have a meeting with the boss. John, over here. I got a meeting with the boss, right? So you're going to meet with the boss, and you want to communicate your point. Your best chance of communicating what you want to communicate is allowing John to communicate what he wants to tell you first. Let him get off his chest whatever he needs to say to you, and then it's open game. And it's even better sometimes. This is just kind of fun. You can kind of do this thing. You can be like, get up, done with the meeting, you kind of walk out and you go, actually, one more thing, John. Like you just thought of it right in that moment, right? And then you lay it on him, and he's actually more, there's been studies on it, he's more willing to hear you out when you just one more thing before you leave. But people cannot hear you until they've been heard. Let the other person speak first and then share what you want to share. Yes, Jack?
That's kind of like when you're handling a conflict, like an unhappy customer. Mm-hmm. You can't rationally solve the problem until you take care of the emotional, which is listening to them.
Absolutely.
Let them get it out, and then say, hey, how about if we do this?
That's so good. Our mistake. Yeah, great example.
I thought in the banking world you just yell louder.
There you go. You got a class right afterwards. Yeah.
Remember, I work at Chase.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't remember who was the person's name. It was very popular. It's not in my, I can't think of his name, but it's in so many words. He was saying, if you give people what they want, you get what you want.
Zig Ziglar.
Yes,
you got it right. Absolutely. Yeah. First give people what they want, and they'll give you what you want. Absolutely. It's great. That's a great quote.
And that's very close to what we talk about at the chamber. First give to other people, and then it comes back to you.
Absolutely.
So.
Absolutely. Okay, so the first essential quality of an influential person, I believe, probably the most important is communication. Work on your communication. Put together a plan. I'm reading, I got a couple books, a great book on communication. I think it's the best on business communication, being able to present, if you have to present for a decision maker. The book, the title is Well Said. It's by Darlene Price. We just connected on LinkedIn. I'm hoping to interview her this year for my YouTube channel. Darlene Price, Well Said. It's got everything you need for communicating and making presentations. All right, essential quality number 2, decisiveness. The ability to make decisions effectively and efficiently. A Harvard business study found that they did a study for 10 years of top executives, so the influencers of the influencers, and they found 4 qualities that these people had, and one of those qualities was they were decisive. They were able to make decisions quickly and efficiently. They effectively and efficiently. They made decisions, and they weren't always right on their decisions, but they weren't afraid to make a decision. So decisiveness, influential people have it. And one way to increase your ability to make decisions faster, more efficiently, is to understand what your priorities are. And so there are a lot of coaches in here, life coach, career coach, business coach. You know, and if you want to, if you want to be able to make quicker decisions in your business, you need to get really clear on what your priorities are in your business. I'm going to read a story real quick. This is out of another great book. If you want to get good, if decisiveness and priorities is going to be your area of personal growth this year, there's a book called Essentialism. And you need to read that one. It's a fantastic. Multiple times I've gone through it. But here's a little story out of that book. It says, a woman named Cynthia once told me a story about the time her father had made plans to take her on a night out in San Francisco. 12-year-old Cynthia and her father had been planning the date for months. They had a whole itinerary planned down to the minute. She would attend the last hour of his presentation and then meet him at the back of the room at about 4:30 and leave quickly before everyone tried to talk to him. They would catch a trolley car to Chinatown, eat Chinese food, which was their favorite, shop for a souvenir, see the sights for a while, and then catch a flick, as her dad liked to say. Then they would grab a taxi back to the hotel, jump in the pool for a quick swim. Her dad was famous for sneaking in when the pool was closed. They would order a hot fudge sundae from room service and watch the Late Late Show. They discussed the details over and over before they left. The anticipation was part of the whole experience. This was all going according to plan. As her father was leaving the convention center, he ran into an old college friend and business associate. It had been years since they had seen each other, and Cynthia watched as they embraced enthusiastically. His friend said, in effect, "I'm so glad you are doing some work with our company now. When Lois and I heard about it, we thought it would be perfect. We want to invite you, and of course Cynthia, to get a spectacular seafood dinner down by the wharf." Cynthia's father responded, "Bob, it's so great to see you. Dinner at the wharf sounds great." Cynthia was crestfallen. Her daydreams of trolley rides and ice cream sundaes evaporated in an instant. Plus, she hated seafood, and she could just imagine how bored she would be listening to the adults talk all night. But then her father continued, "But not tonight. Cynthia and I have a special date planned, don't we?" And he winked at Cynthia and grabbed her hand, and they ran out the door and continued with what was an unforgettable night in San Francisco. As it happens, Cynthia's father was the management thinker Stephen R. Covey, and author of The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, who had passed away only weeks before Cynthia told the author this story. So it was with deep emotion she recalled that evening in San Francisco. His simple decision bonded him to his daughter forever, because she knew what mattered most to him was her priorities. That wasn't a decision that Stephen Covey made in that moment. That was a pre-made decision. He had made that long before, and he said, "My priority is my daughter, and I don't care what else comes in the way." It was an easy decision. If we get our priorities right, then we can be more effective and efficient in making decisions. All right, we need to keep going. Number 3, confidence. Confidence. Essential quality of an influential person. And a confidence is feeling or being confident in oneself. Self-assured. In a study done by Florida State University and Brown University found that high self-esteem makes people more willing to speak up in groups and to criticize the group's approach. Now, leadership does not stem directly from self-esteem, but self-esteem may have indirect effects. What does that mean? More often than not, people in leadership roles speak their opinion, and that's how they get those roles. They're seen as confident, self-assured, with self-esteem, and so they get those leadership positions. It's just how it works. It's the world that we live in. Being able to speak your mind and being confident in that. Now on my video, I have a hack, okay? Because that's what you put in videos, right? A life hack. So I have a hack on how to instantly get confident and to change your state, because confidence is a state. A football team can lose confidence. They're still fantastic athletes, but if they don't have the confidence to go out there, they're not going to compete at the same level. So you can change that state, and you have to watch the video to see that. But, come on, all right? I'm trying to get subscribers around here, you know what I'm saying? You guys already know my pitch, right? I'm trying to get subscribers, okay. But I'll tell you, if you want to build confidence, there's a great quote by General Patton. He said this: "You fight like you train. You fight like you train. You play on game day like you practice." And so the same thing is true in business. If you want confidence, you got to practice. There's no easy way around it. You just got to practice. You got to go to your Toastmasters. You got to get better at speaking in public, in front of people. Speaking in your head. You ever done that before? You practice your presentation? Oh, I'm going to talk. I'm going to give them a piece of my mind, right? And it makes so much sense in your head, right? And you're just going to tell them, and you get there, and you're like, you're mean. That didn't come out right? I had so much more to say, right? No. You fight like you train. You got to practice it exactly how you're going to do it. And that's how you get more confidence, is by practicing. Practice. All right, number 4, success. Success. Influential people are successful. What does that mean? They have a track record of getting what they want in life. We're influenced by successful people, right? We want to hang around successful people. People who have done things at a high level, we are influenced by that. I'm not telling you anything you don't already know. I'm just kind of putting a term on it, right? So, success. And my mentor put together a 10 tips for being successful in Fort Worth, or what successful people do in Fort Worth. So specific to our Fort Worth, kind of more relational style. He's been an entrepreneur here for 40 years. And I'll give you 3 of those 10 tips real quick. And if you want all 10, you can email me. I'll shoot them to you. It's just drew@drewtjackson.com. I'll give you all 10 of them in a PDF. But the first one is trust. Long-term business success in Fort Worth is a product of trustworthy relationships, not just profitable monetary transactions. We count personal integrity as a higher value than financial achievement. Another success tip for here in Fort Worth is personal responsibility. He said, in both success and failure, taking responsibility for our actions models the standard for professional behavior. In Fort Worth, we are judged by our actions, especially how we treat others. And then the third success tip is faith. He said, Fort Worth has a strong heritage of religious faith and practices. Our local churches work hard to meet the spiritual, emotional, and physical needs of our people. Business leaders who base their daily practices on faith principles flourish in our community. So this is specific to Fort Worth. I don't know if it'll work everywhere, but in 40 years of his business experience, those tips work here in Fort Worth. And like I said, I'll get you the other 10 if you want them. All right. Essential qualities of an influential person. Who already has their one that they're going to work on? Anybody have their area? I'm working on communication. You kind of got yours. Okay, you got one. So a couple people. There's still more. Okay, I got 3 more. So maybe you'll find yours in here. Number 5, competence. Essential quality of an influential person. Competence, being good at what you do and knowing the details of your industry. Being good at what you do and knowing the details of your industry. That same study by Harvard Business Review, 10-year study, most effective executives found that the most effective executives knew their industry and were good at what they did. Imagine that, right? Once again, I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but you can increase your competence. Now, how can you increase your competence in what you do? I don't know. I talk for a living, okay? I don't know what you do. I'm not a loan officer. I can't tell you how to get more competent in being a loan officer, but there are some ways that all of us can get more competent in what we do, and I'll tell you just one. And like I said, I got a couple more on the video, but one that you can do is find a mentor. Find a mentor. Here, whenever I'm mentoring someone or I'm sharing with people how to identify a mentor, figure out what you want to do, figure out what your dream is, what your goal is, what you're aspiring to. Find someone who's either living it or already has lived that dream, and then take them to lunch. And you buy lunch, okay? Remember that part. You buy lunch. And then ask them questions about how they got there. How'd they do that? That's right, my mentor that has been a business leader here 40 years in Fort Worth, that's all I did. I took him to breakfast though, Cracker Barrel, right? And I said, I'll buy. And then get this, I didn't ask to go out to breakfast again until I did what he told me to do the first time, right? Don't be an asshole. I said, there's a K there, okay? Yeah, you don't want to be an asshole. You don't want to just keep asking and asking and asking questions and never doing. You just a hole that asks questions. You don't want to be that, right? So find a mentor. And once again, I said these are research-based. Another Harvard study found that people who ask for help look more competent than those that don't. Because think about it this way. John's the boss. If I say, hey, John, Hey, John, will can you guys see John over
No,
there?
he's hiding from us.
He's the boss. If I say, hey, John, can you help me with this? John goes, obviously this guy's smart because he knows to ask me how to do this, right? Right? Just think about it, right? We're humans. We're humans. But you look more competent by asking the person that's good at that thing that they're doing. So just by simply finding a mentor, you can increase your confidence in the minds of those around you. All right, here we go. Number 6. We're coming to the end. Number 6, persistence. Persistence. My goodness. Now this is the tough one. This is the one that's like, I heard some amens to that one right there, right? That's the one you got to stick it out, stick to itness. I define persistence as continuing for a long or longer than usual time. But my buddy that I interviewed, I asked him his definition on persistence. I think it's the best one. He said, I will figure out a way. I'll figure out a way. It's not being patient. It's not just, I'm just going to stand here until things kind of change. It's, I'm going to figure out a way. I'm going to figure out a way to make this work. I'm going to figure out a way to get my sales up. I'm going to figure out a way to lead this team. I'm going to figure out a way to communicate better. I'm going to figure out a way to get my sales up. I'm going to figure out a way to start this business. Whatever the thing is that you got to do, persistence is, I'm going to figure out a way. I'm going to figure out a way to do that. Napoleon Hill said this. He said, one thing we all know, if one does not possess persistence, one does not achieve noteworthy success in any calling. In any calling. It's really one of those realities of crock pot versus microwave, right? I mean, the crock pot tastes better, right? It's that much sweeter when you get it. And those things, those bigger things, those more significant things of life, they take time. We don't want a pizza pocket career. We don't want a pizza pocket life. We want that slow roasted. I'm getting hungry just thinking about this. My brother-in-law made some prime rib for Thanksgiving. It was way better than turkey. And it was slow cooked, you know? Tastes better. Tastes better that way. Same thing is true with your career. Same thing is true with your business, with your life. Take the time, persist, and do something great. One tip on persistence here from Napoleon Hill. He says this: the first step in persisting is definiteness of purpose. Knowing what one wants is the first and perhaps the most important step toward the development of persistence. A strong motive forces one to surmount many difficulties. I have a strategic career coaching program that I do with my clients. I'm actually going to help a guy become an operator for a Chick-fil-A. We're working on it right now. They say that's harder than getting into Stanford, is becoming an operator at Chick-fil-A. So that's our big challenge. But we're doing some strategic career coaching with him. But I have a free webinar for you, once again, on my YouTube channel. Come on, Influence Trainer. And I got a free webinar there that you can watch, and it has. Look, I said my dream is to help you live yours. I really, really believe that. You don't have to put in your information. There's a free download there with a link, and you don't have to, I'm not asking for your information for it. I really just want you to get super clear. At the last 10 days of this year, you know, as we're kind of winding things down, I want you to get very clear on what you want to do with your life, where you're trying to go. That's what's going to help you persist. And then number 7, 7 essential qualities of influential people. Networking. Right? We're here. Networking. Let me give you 7 quick tips. I can do this in 2 minutes. I know because I have a YouTube video on it. The ability to build a network of relationships and connect people that may have synergy. So here are 7 benefits of networking. Networking is a long-term investment. Think farming, not hunting. Think farming, not hunting. Number 2, networking will bring you residual referrals. If done right, networking will cultivate strong relationships that will continue to market for you years to come. Number 3, networking gets you noticed. One of the goals with networking should always be to be memorable. I was in a networking group, and we had a lady, and it was tile floor. It wasn't even carpet. And she would wear 4-inch heels, and she would kick her foot above her head. I'm not going to even pretend like I could do that right now or practice, but she could kick her foot over her head, and she was a personal defense for women trainer. I remember all that. Why? Because I saw her kick her foot above her head so many times on tile, and every time I was like, she's going to fall this time. I know. I've seen her do it 30 times, but she's going to fall. She was what? She was memorable, right? She was memorable. Number 4, networking could open the door to your future career. How many of us have been in a networking group and we've seen someone that transitioned careers while in that group, different career, different organization, and they did it through a relationship that they had built through networking. Number 5, networking could open the door to mentoring opportunities. We talked about mentoring earlier. You could find your mentor here in this room. There might be someone living your dream, and you're just a conversation away, and breakfast at Cracker Barrel or something, to learn from them. Number 6, networking will develop long-lasting relationships. Long-lasting relationships. Sometimes you really want to go where everybody knows your name, right? And we have that deep desire to be needed and known. And you can have that in a networking group, but you got to be consistent. It's not the flavor of the week. I really encourage you. I'm over in the southwest kind of quadrant, west quadrant of DFW. I'm part of the Pembroke Chamber. I'm an ambassador. I serve there. I volunteer there. We're doing our awards banquet tomorrow night. I MC it. I MC anything they want me to do. And you got to be needed and known somewhere. Right? Sign up today. This is a telethon. You guys didn't even know it, right? Sign up. If you're in this area, seriously, sign up for the Northeast Tarrant County Chamber and be a part of this chamber and get plugged in. Don't just kind of dance around here from time to time. It doesn't work that way with networking, as I've seen it, as I've experienced. And then number 7, networking will increase your influence. It's a benefit of network. It will increase your influence. Increase your influence with others to build those relationships. All right. So we only had 30 minutes together, and Zig Ziglar has a quote. He says, "I've never changed someone's life from a speaking gig, but if they buy my tapes and cassettes, I have a shot at changing their lives." Well, we live in the internet age. You don't have to buy tapes and cassettes. You can just subscribe to my YouTube channel. And all the content's free, right? Content marketing, that's the world we live in today. And so I want to encourage you. I really do want to ask you to subscribe to my channel. Every week I got new videos coming out, interviews with folks, some old stuff. I got stuff that's been on there for a while. I've interviewed Bill before, and Bill doesn't know it, but on my 2020 plan, I plan to interview him again and talk about disruption and help some people with transitions. So I'd love and be honored if you kind of join that community and talk with me on there. Tell me what you want to learn about influence. And let me tell you why I'm so passionate. I told you I would tell you more about this when I said my dream is to help you live yours. And the reason I'm so passionate about this is really, it's my baby brother. And I call him my baby brother, not because he's a baby, but because every year I keep having birthdays and he doesn't. Because at the age of 25, he died. Way too soon. And he didn't have a chance to live his dream. And if I'm honest, I don't even know if he had time to really define what that dream was. And so when I talk about wanting to help you live your dream and wanting to, that passion and that desire that I have for you, it comes from that place. It's a deep place, a purpose place, a place where I believe that's what I'm here on planet Earth to do, is to help you live your dream. And so thank you so much for having fun and a good time with me this morning and listening to me. And we'll have to do it again next year, okay?
All right.
Thank you so much.